Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee and today we are going to be discussing Scooby-Doo Gremlins Getaway, supposedly written by Jane Becker. So this has been circulating on the internet for a couple of days now, in no short part to the Instagram account Behind the Scoobs. That is obviously an account that's been the source of a lot of debate, especially on forums such as Reddit, but we're not really here to discuss who exactly might be behind that account today, although if that is a topic that people are interested in, I'm willing to try and look into it, but again, I think that that's kind of a losing battle. The thing that I wanted to add to this conversation is a little bit of validity in the best way that I know how. So if you are watching this for the first time and you don't know who we are, we currently run a Scooby-Doo interview series and we're halfway through our third and final season. Now that has led us to a lot of connections, some of whom we didn't interview for the podcast, and I don't know, I don't want to say it's ingratiated us into the ranks of Warner Brothers or Warner Brothers people, but it's definitely given us a bit of insight that a lot of people may not be able to see, and a lot of that is about Haunted High-Rise and Holiday Haunt. And if there's one thing that I can say for this Behind the Scoobs account, is a lot of the things that they have posted up about Haunted High-Rise and Holiday Haunt, based on what we know, what we've seen, and what we've heard, every single last bit of it does appear to be genuine. So for me personally, my understanding is they either, one, have an insight into Warner Brothers people, or two, at the very least, they do their due diligence to make sure that the things that they are posting is accurate, because there's some stuff that they've posted up that we are aware of and have been aware of that somebody outside of that just wouldn't know. So yeah, I definitely think that they're a person that is ingratiated within Warner Brothers, or actually, because of the stuff that they do have, I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the people behind those cancelled projects may be using them to leak certain things that, let's be honest, deserve to be out there. And so I'm very grateful to that account, but I suppose that leads us on to this. Now, does my belief that the Behind the Scoobs account being credible and trustworthy confirm this Gremlins Getaway to be correct? Well, yes and no. It confirms that I believe that the Behind the Scoobs channel believes this to be correct, and they haven't posted any fakes from what I can see, at least not as far as unheard of projects or aware of, like Holiday Haunt, Haunted High-Rise and stuff like that. Everything does seem to be legit. And that leads me to this, because this is an interesting one. Now, Scooby-Doo Gremlins Getaway, again, I mean, it doesn't really take someone to do what we've done to know that the behind, all that the kind of legal text underneath does also look genuine, and there's not much to say about this besides the fact that if this is true, on that basis, I am a little bit disappointed. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Gremlins. It is one of my annual Christmas movies. Definitely more of a fan of the first one, although I have been told to give the second one a bit more of a chance, so maybe we'll see that coming soon. But to me, the first Gremlin movie is absolutely everything that I'd want. It's a perfect blend between the kind of Yuletide festivities, but also a bit of comedy horror as well, that kind of dark humour that I am absolutely obsessed with. It's very similar to the way I view things that are wacky and irreverent, such as like a Scooby-Doo 2002, or even like Looney Tunes Back in Action, that type of wackiness and irreverence that I really like. The issue is here is I believe that this again is Warner Brothers and the Scooby-Doo franchise purely being used to prop up another franchise, and it's again another crossover that I'm just not that excited about, because it's a crossover. And again, I'm not anti-crossover, it's just, to me, I feel that we should have had a break in between Courage the Cowardly Dog or Crypto 2. There's just too many crossovers too frequently, and that's all while a TV show like Scooby-Doo and Guess Who has been in the background. Again, all perfectly good stuff. It's just, it feels like a satire at this point, like a sitcom. They parodied this in stuff like Extras. I'm not sure if people are familiar with that, but where a sitcom starts off getting great ratings, and then it dwindles and dwindles and dwindles until the point where they're getting like the current people on board, they're getting celebrity guest stars to prop up the name, and it just leaves a bit of a cynical taste in my mouth when I consider that we had a Crypto 2 crossover more or less the same year that the Super Pets movie was out. and now there's rumours of a Gremlins Getaway movie the same year, or more or less the same year that we had, Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai come out on HBO Max. It just feels like Scooby-Doo is becoming almost like a stuffed animal that someone dresses up as, that you stick outside of a toy store to say, come in here kids, let's see the latest stuff. It is just a marketing ploy, and the cynical side of me just isn't there for it. Now, of course, there is that kind of that duality where it could be a crossover in name only. And what I mean by that is, when you think of Gremlins, or at least when I think of Gremlins, I'm thinking of Gizmo, Stripe, Billy, and I suppose that would be the crossover to make. However, if it is just the characters of Gremlins, the concept of Gremlins, so for instance, it takes place in the realm of Scooby, but there are separate Mogwai that are completely disconnected from Gizmo and that lot, I think that would maybe be a better direction to take it as far as telling a unique story from, because we've had gremlins and gremlin-like creatures before in Scooby, in the Be Cool Scooby-Doo episode, and even a little reference to the critters, which were very similar to gremlins in What's New Scooby-Doo. So it is possible without diving into that lore and mythology, and honestly that is what I prefer. But again, I don't know if I'm going to bank on that being exactly what they're going to do here. And in any case, again, I just think a crossover, I don't know if it's the way to go. Again, it could come out and it could be amazing. I have high hopes for it, but at the same time, I don't know how excited you can be for another crossover. But if they are going to cross over with something, I'm not angry that it's Gremlins. Again, it's a great departure from something like DC comic books, or even something similar. Like, I like the Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover, but this is something completely distant from that. It's Scooby-Doo crossing over with an iconic property from the 80s now, which you could easily do something then. Like, I know that there's like a Warner Brothers issue and some of these aren't owned by Warner Brothers, but when you think about, Scooby-Doo Back to the Future, Scooby-Doo Ghostbusters, there's a lot of possibilities that this would open up if it was successful, that I can't help but be a little bit excited about the prospect of that moving forward. It's just whether it sticks the landing or not. Now, Jane Becker, the writer, I did a look around IMDb and look around to see if anyone called Jane Becker has been involved in Scooby-Doo before, and to the best of my knowledge, they haven't. However, there is a Jane Becker that's listed as a writer on IMDb who has worked on several episodes of Rick and Morty, several episodes of the Harley Quinn series, and even as recently as working on the live-action series Ted Lasso. So again, I'm not sure if that is the Jane Becker. I'm in no way trying to, confirm that here today. But I think that that's alright. I would prefer it to have been someone more familiar with Scooby, but at the same time as well, just because you're a fan of something doesn't mean you're going to be good at writing it. And equally, just because you're not a fan of something doesn't mean that you'd be bad at writing it. And maybe a part of me thinks that if it is someone that hasn't written for Scooby before, maybe they're not going to come in with the baggage of someone that believes that the monster should always be fake or anything like that, which is another issue with this. Now, Gremlins Getaway, if they are going to cross over to the realm of the Gremlins, they could very easily do what they did with Courage and just accept the lore of that realm or of that series. But I'm just worried that this is just going to culminate in, oh, the gremlins were fake all along, which again isn't as bad as, say, debunking Zombie Island, at least not for pure Scooby fans. But as well, it's like, well, why are we going to then sit through another thing where there's an interesting type of storyline to have, except because of the people in the studio, we have to debunk it by the end. There just, at that point, doesn't seem to be much jeopardy or intrigue. I'd like to watch a Scooby-Doo movie, go into it, and wonder if this will be one of them where it's real or fake, versus going in and saying, so how are they going to rationalise this? Because, I just don't think that that's how you should be consuming media when you already know the ending. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about the possibility of Scooby-Doo Gremlins Getaway? I think with being Warner Bros, you can't expect anything at this stage, but I would suspect that you would make a Gremlins crossover to coincide with the holidays, be it Hanukkah, Christmas, sometime in November, December time. Which again, the only thing that I've got against that is there's no way they're gonna release this and Holiday Haunt in the same year. So I mean, that's just something that I'm thinking about. But yeah, knowing Warner Bros, they'll probably release this in the height of summer, if at all. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone for watching. Comment down below what you think about all of this, and yeah, I'll see you next time.